Imagine, if you can, that one day the Coca-Cola company decided that they're going to stop making a cola flavoured fizzy drink. They turn around and say, like, look, everyone's trying to lead a healthier lifestyle now and they're all buying smoothies and iced coffees, so what's the point in this cola flavoured drink that we do? We're just going to stop making it. And Cadbury's went down the route of, you know what, no more dairy milk, we're going to do granola bars from here on in because that's what people want. And imagine, if you will, the beautiful county of Cornwall, which I happen to find myself in, was to turn around and say, no more surfing. Yeah, there's no point. You know, there's plenty of other stuff you can do. Go for a nice healthy walk or a bike ride instead, but you can't surf here anymore. Can you imagine the public outcry there would be? Well, that's pretty much what happened when Volvo Cars said, we're going to stop making estate cars. We're just going to build SUVs now because that's what people want. But such was the outcry from the public that just 18 months after that announcement, they reintroduced the V60 and the V90 to the price list. And now Volvo Cars are back in the estate car making business. Welcome to this week's road test review. Welcome to the old but newly introduced Volvo V60. Please sit yourself down, make yourself comfortable in the house of cars. Now, before I get started on this week's road test review of Volvo's V60 T6, a couple of little housekeeping things. First of all, it's about a year now since I started the House of Cars channel, and since then 10,000 of you have subscribed to it. And if you're one of those 10,000 people that quite enjoy listening to a silly old Scotsman waffle on about cars, thank you ever so much. I really do appreciate your support. If you're not, and you're maybe tuning in for the first time and you're thinking, what is this guy going on about? Why don't you press the subscribe button and just find out? And once you've done that, press the wee bell button as well, because then that way you'll be notified when the next video is uploaded and it's gone live. Once you watch it, if you enjoy it, and I sincerely hope you do, then give it a little thumbs up. And of course, don't forget, leave me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about the cars I feature on the channel, such as Volvo's V60, and of course the House of Cars channel as a whole. Now, as I say, it's been about a year now since I started House of Cars, and in the first tranche of videos we did, I've come back to the place where I was originally, where I reviewed the Peugeot 508, Peugeot Sport Engineered, and the Dacia Jogger. That was a really popular video, because I brought that car on a family holiday down to Cornwall, and I'm back in Porthtown, where we come every year. And the very kind people at the Eco Park in Porthtown have allowed me to film here again. So if you're interested in coming down to Cornwall for a bit of camping, a bit of surfing, or just see this beautiful county that we've got, sort of like in the southwest of England, then check out the Eco Park at Porthtown. They're not sponsoring the video, I just want to say thank you to them, because they've been really kind in letting me film here today. And they've got loads of stuff that goes on here. There's a Cuban music festival on in a couple of nights' time. You know, I've got loads of sort of like different meditations, sort of like courses and yoga courses. There's some beautiful walks around here, and as I say, just down there is Porthtown, where I'm staying, and I don't stay up here. I've got a house down there, we're staying down in there, and there's some beaches down there for surfing and all around there. So check out these guys if you're interested in coming down to Cornwall and camping up here, because it's a beautiful, beautiful spot. Anyway, right, back to the review. The car, right, the Volvo V60. Volvo, they've been making estate cars since 1953 with their original Duet, which means they've been in the business for over 70 odd years of building these things. But incredibly, in 2023, they went, do you know what? Nobody's buying estates anymore. Everyone wants SUVs. We're just going to stop building them. Now, most people wouldn't blink an eye, you know, if BMW stopped making the Touring, or, you know, sort of like whoever else, you know, sort of like Toyota stopped making Corolla estates. Nobody would really be bothered. But Volvo not making an estate car, well, there was just an absolute outcry about it, because you think of Volvo, you think of estates in some respects, don't you? But the thing is, since 2006, they introduced the XC90, their big SUV, and slowly but surely they introduced more, the XC60 and the XC40, and that's when they thought, look, everyone's buying these instead, so we're just going to stop making estates. But as I say, because there was such an outcry about it, there was a U-turn quicker than a disgraced Tory government, and they reintroduced them back into the price list. The saloon equivalents, the S60 and the S90, they're gone. Although there's going to be a new ES90, an electric saloon car that they've brought out. It's just been launched recently. So we'll test that obviously over on my other channel, Auto EV. But the V60 and the V90, they're back. But here's the thing, they literally just have reintroduced them as they were in some respects. In other words, they're not new models. So this is still the second generation V60 that was introduced back in 2018. Which makes it quite an interesting thought in some respects, because people like BMW with the 3 Series Touring, Audi with the new A5 Avant that's just recently been launched, and of course Mercedes have a very recently launched C-Class estate. Is an older Volvo V60 still going to cut it? That's the question that I had. So it made sense for me to sort of say, let's grab one from Volvo and bring it on the family holiday, because let's be honest, that's exactly what you use these type of Volvo estates for. Family holidays. So has it still got what it takes to cut it these days? But as always, let's take a brief look at the main points in the car before we start the full review. So the Volvo V60 was first introduced back in 2010 at the Paris Auto Salon as a replacement for the popular V50 model. This second generation car debuted in 2018. In 2023, Volvo made the decision to only sell SUVs, effectively axing the S60 and S90 saloons, along with their V60 and V90 counterparts, only to reverse the decision for the estate models in 2024, thanks to renewed interest in them from the buying public. Only petrol engines remain, either the B4, a mild hybrid front-wheel drive with 197 horsepower, the T6, an all-wheel drive plug-in hybrid with 350 horsepower like we have here, or the T8, a plug-in hybrid which has 456 horsepower and all-wheel drive. 2 trim levels are available depending on model, either the Plus or the Ultra. And prices start at just over £43,000 and climb to over £57,000, depending on the model and the driveline you choose. Now the thing is, nostalgia is an interesting thing. We do have a habit of looking at life through some rose-tinted spectacles every now and again. In other words, is this still relevant in today? With so many people buying medium-sized SUVs and with some much newer competition available, is there still a place for the good old-fashioned Volvo estate car? Well, let's put it through a House of Cars road test review and find out. Now we're going to start with styling, but before I do, there's a little white dog in the shot. That's my dog, Finley. If you're a regular viewer and you watched the Dacia Jogger review we did back here a year ago, you'll know I've seen Finley, and he's been in a couple of videos. So I've brought him with me today because he quite likes being up here with me and he quite enjoys getting into the videos, don't you, pal? And what do you think of when you think of Volvo estates? Dogs. Natural, isn't it? It's a family estate car. Family dog. Right, how does it look? The car, that is, not the dog, because the dog looks great. The car. Best looking car in the class as far as I'm concerned, and I do mean that. Now I get style is very subjective and everyone will have different views on it, but there's just something about Volvo and their styling. They just hit it right every single time as far as I'm concerned. There's an interesting film, I don't know if you've ever seen a film with Dudley Moore in it from the early 90s called Crazy People, where he plays an advertising executive that comes up with a theory about honest advertising, and he just says it like it is, and he thinks this is the new thing, and his company think he's gone completely mad, so they put him into a psychiatric institution where he gets all the patients to help him. It's really funny. But one of the strap lines they come up with is for Volvo cars, and it's just Volvo, buy Volvo, they're boxy but they're good. And that pretty much to me sums up Volvo in some respects from the old days, you know, the 240 estate, the 940, the 960, the 740, the 760. You know, they weren't what you'd call stylish looking cars, but they were just boxy and practical. They just made sense. But then along came Peter Horbury, their chief designer, and he started to change things. And ever since then, ever since that first S80 that he designed, things have taken a turn, I think, and they've now become the car company that just comes out with the best looking cars in their class. And I genuinely mean that, and this is no different to me. It's not as controversial as a BMW, it's not as samey as an Audi, it's not as bland as a Mercedes-Benz. It cuts a really stylish dash. Not so much Scandi noir, more Scandi foire. It's just one of those things. It's like when you look at Scandinavian people, the more you look at them, the more you think, God, they're really good looking people. That's what I mean with this. And it's traditional Volvo, isn't it? You know, it's got all the styling cues that you expect across the range. The Thor hammer headlights that have been on the cars for a while now. The big bold grille there with the big Volvo badge dissecting it across it. Neatly integrated little forward-facing camera there and a jutting chin, you know, like a really handsome looking Scandinavian bloke. Clean lines, nothing fussy, just good looking. Now as you come around the side, you'll see again, there's nothing here that's not needed. Everything sort of like, you know, looks just right. It's very clean, very precise. I really like this sort of like line that just mirrors the front wheel arch just in this panel here. Just that arc there that gives some depth to that panel. It's in the back wheel arch as well. Finlay, stop rolling around on the ground. This shoulder line, very strong. That's the Peter Horbury thing there. They always had very strong shoulder lines. And it comes all the way to the back as well. Now, as I say, it's just the V60 you can get now. You can't get the S60 saloon anymore. Standout door mirrors, they're mounted to the door as well, so that gives good visibility in the windows there. We'll talk about specifications and prices a little bit later on. This is a Plus model. This is a T6 Plus. They get 19-inch alloy wheels, really nice alloys, very easy to clean as well. I like that, and it does need a clean because it's quite dusty up here today. Integrated roof rails, so obviously if you do need extra carrying capacity, you can obviously put your crossbars on, your roof box, or your bike rack, which obviously Volvo do. And there's also on this particular model, it's an option electrically deployable tow bar as well. Good chunky door handles as well. But look at it, just clean. That's what I love about it, as in the design, not the actual state of the cleanliness of it. But just a really clean and neat piece of design. I think it looks great. And then of course, round the back, where your tailgate is. Very straight tailgate. Very, very straight in terms of, you know, it doesn't come in or anything like that. Good opening, which obviously we'll talk about next in the practicality section. Again, the Volvo sort of like signature tail lights, as we've seen obviously on a lot of the cars now. I think, was it the XC60? Sorry, the XC90, they first came out and there was big tall tail lights. I think it was. Yeah, anyway, you get those. They were on the C30 as well, and a couple of C30s. I really like that car. Rear wash wipe, obviously as you expect. Roof mounted spoiler, high level brake light. The Volvo across the back as you would expect. T6 with a plug-in hybrid there. You've got a reverse camera, he says, tucked up underneath there. There's a boot releaser and a boot handle there. There's also the kick type of release as well, but nicely, neatly integrated sort of like exhaust pipes, so no visible exhausts in the car, but then no fakery either. Do you know what I mean? Just that sort of like really nice diffuser section there and parking sensors and a nice low load lip. That's the other thing about it. That's pretty much just above my knee height, and I'm just a wee shorty, so it's nice and easy to load stuff into the car, as we'll see there. Look, as I say, I think this is the best looking car in its class personally. Okay, so that's my opinion, and I want to make that clear. And styling's very subjective. Maybe some people might find it a little bit boring, but I just think it's just one of those cars that say the more you look at it, the more you realise how good looking it really is and how stylish it looks. Especially in they've got some really good colours as well, Volvo. You know, with them sort of like, you know, this sort of steely blue colour here, which I really like. We've got a really nice sort of like silver that really sort of shows the line off as well. And in black, they just look menacing. Now, as I say, they're way less fussy than the likes of BMW. They're just not quite as samey as, you know, Audi, as I say. And I get, you know, Mercedes-Benz of the Prestige, but to me they just look a little bit bland, you know, in the Mercedes styling. I think this is a great looking car. But it doesn't really matter what I think, does it? Because you guys are out there buying these cars. What do you think? That's the important thing. Would you buy this over the new Audi A5 Avant? Have you? Have you one of the people that gone and bought the new V60 since it got back into the country? Or did you go and buy something else and Volvo says we're not going to make estate cars anymore? As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Right, practicality, because let's be honest, that's why you buy an estate car, isn't it? Okay, well, it depends on the model you buy. This is a T6, which is a plug-in hybrid. So the boot space in this car is 481 litres as standard, okay? And if you if you fold down the split fold and 60/40 rear seat, that'll take total capacity up to 1,431 litres. However, the B4, which is a mild hybrid, the model below this, gets a boot space over 500 litres because obviously this car has a rear motor. And we'll talk about that in the technical section. Okay, so you can buy a car with more space in a V60 shape if you want, if you go for the B4. If you want a plug-in hybrid, you sacrifice some boot space. But in fairness, I haven't struggled, you know. Now, okay, I don't have all my luggage with me, but look, let's just have a look at the actual boot space itself. It's a nice big opening, as I say. The actual height that you load into, as I say, is just above my knee level, and it's a flat floor, straight load in. So I don't really have a lot to sort of show you in terms of suitcases, because obviously they're back at the house and stuff. But if you have a look there, that's one of these fold-down kind of camp chairs. I can get it in lengthways there. I've got two of them with me. My wife's got the other one she's away with today. But I can get two of those in lengthways if you want. I mean, there's our beach umbrella. Oh, I should have organised this better, shouldn't I? And that goes in you know, so that's quite a depth that the boot goes back. But it's also a width as well, because look, they'll also go across width-wise as well. So there's plenty space there. I mean, it's a bit sandy, apologies. You've also got, the thing about Volvo I love, because I've had two XC, I was one of these people that bought an XC60, you know, an SUV Volvo rather than an estate Volvo, so I maybe should have only got myself to blame for this. But look, this was brilliant. The other day we stopped at a supermarket and bought sort of like some bottles of wine, and you've just got this fold-up section which you can stand them in and put some elastic around so they don't fall over and roll around a bit. It's silly things like that that I really like about them. You've also got sort of like, you know, bag hooks there. You've also got hooks at the side there. You've also got a little bit of space underneath the floor, although not much in this one, but enough to throw in an extra number plate and the luggage net if you want to use the luggage net in the car. You've got some good tie-down lashings at the back. There's a 12-volt socket thing there, and I'll say on this one's also got the electrically deployable tow bar in it as well. So if you need to carry a bike rack, you just fold that away. Isn't that good? So that's there as well. And of course, the other thing that you might use the car for, I can just fold that away now, he says. There you go. It's carrying your dogs in it. Come on, Finn. Plenty space. Plenty space. You've got some big dogs like I have. What more could you want? Right, rear seat space. Well, that's my driving position, okay? And I'm 5'8". I've got loads of space here, absolutely loads of space. Are you trying to get in the car? Are you being a bit of a pain now? Are you trying to get in? Just a minute, let me finish this bit and I'll show you. Okay, I'll come out and see you. Right, so there's loads of space back here. However, what I will say is, if there is 3 across, you've got a problem, because you've obviously got this big centre tunnel here, because that is where the batteries in these hybrids are mounted, down the centre of the car. So you've got a big centre mount here. So for 4, bags of space. For 5, probably not in terms of actual foot space. You know, that somebody's going to have to straddle that. So view it as a family of 4 and you've not got a problem. There's obviously storage nets in the backs of the front seats there. This particular car has got heated rear seats. You've also got USB ports back there. Now, my daughter's been driving around in this car this week, you know, and she's been charging her phone from there. She finds it really comfortable, and that's the other thing, is the comfort. The seats, they are properly moulded seats, you know, so they've got nice shoulder support, good head restraint, you know, it's fantastic. You know, from that point of view, you've also got a fold down armrest which has the slide out cup holders. They've got face vents up in the back, because Finley does not travel in the boot of the car. I'd like to point that out now. He's got a little bed that sits neatly on the back seat, so of course he's got the little face vents here that blow nice fresh air into him. So again, if you're travelling with dogs or smaller children, you're wondering about ventilation in the back, you've got the face vents mounted in the right place, actually on the pillars. So there's plenty of space in terms of it's just 4 of you. If it's 5, you're probably going to struggle a little bit, in fairness. Good headroom, that's fine for me. This is, as I say, this is a plus model. If you go for an Ultra, however, a T Ultra, that will come with a panoramic glass sunroof, so that will eat into the headspace a little bit. But in terms of overall space for the car, really not a problem at all, as long as you don't expect anybody to sit in the middle bit of the bench here. Right, interior. Mixed bag, mostly good, but some glaring issues, I think, in some respects, that sort of like betray the car's age, dare I suggest. Really interestingly, we were out driving yesterday. We went out to one of the beaches where my daughter was having a surf lesson, and Liz pointed out, she said she feels it's a car for an older generation. Now, I don't think she's been horrible about that, but what she's saying is there's no overwhelming tech in the car. You know, she just feels there's you know, it's not, you know, nothing sort of like she would get in this car quite easily and pretty much know how to navigate her way around it, you know, without having to delve too much in it. She's not one for big touch screens and stuff like that, but she does like a, you know, a car interior that works well for her. So I do understand what she's saying by that, and I have to agree with it. So let's just start with the technology. So you get this 9-inch portrait screen here, which is fine. Clarity is really very good, and it's a Google-based operating system. Now, that's the big thing for me, because I think the Google operating systems in cars are without doubt the best that you can get. I don't care what MD tells me otherwise. I love the Google operating system, and all the cars that use it. So Volvo, Polestar, Renault use it. It's just simple. It's really easy to get on with. You know, Google Maps, you've got Google Assistant as well. You can obviously set something up on your phone and send it to the car. Just works, okay? It just works. Volvo haven't gone down the route of trying to develop their own system that's just going to have glitches and stuff like that. They just go to Google and say, build us something for this. And they have, and it's brilliant. The screen itself is actually okay, you know, in terms of, as I say, it's got good clarity. There's, you know, everything's laid out well, just your little icons up there that you can go into. You know, obviously you can download things from the Google Play Store as well, so certain apps you can go into as well. So that's good, okay? There's two issues that I have with it, however. The first thing is this. If you're using CarPlay and Android Auto, which obviously it does have, it's wired. Okay, now that's a problem in some respects, okay, because the wiring for it to plug it in is underneath this armrest, which is a very shallow little tray, okay, and it also means that my iPhone 15 Pro Max does not fit in here, okay. The other thing that I've got the problem with the fact is that if you go for the plug-in hybrids, the T6 and the T8, you don't get a wireless charging pad. You do on the B4 mild hybrid, but not in the plug-in hybrids, so there's nowhere to actually put your phone. Okay, now that's a problem for me because I use CarPlay all the time, you know, I tell the default CarPlay. Even if I'm not, even if I'm using the Google Maps and stuff, even if I was using this, where am I going to put my phone? There's nowhere for it. If I need to charge it, I've got to use a cable, you know, and then I've then got to sacrifice a cup holder. And because it is a big phone, as most phones are these days, it's sticking up out of one of these cup holders. It's just the lack of storage, I think, is quite poor. You know, that's the one thing. And it's a really, I know it's a silly thing, but do you know what? When you're using it as a family car, it's stuff like that you really notice, and it's stuff like that that really annoys me. So I find that really irritating that it is that last generation car from that point of view. You know, wireless CarPlay would eliminate some of it, but again, where am I going to put my phone to charge it? I've got to then leave it down in the door bin. I can't charge it when it's in the door bin. That's the problem. So I've got to have it sticking out the cup holder. That's not great, okay? Talking of cup holders, obviously you get two of those. This is the other area that both Liz and I agree on. There's too much of this piano black, especially Volvo. Why are Volvo doing this? I get Audi. I mean, it's better built than Audi's, but even Liz said, she said, it just looks cheap. Looks like cheap black plastic. She looks horrible. She's especially when the rest of the interior's as nice as it is. You've got it here, you've got it a little bit round the screen, which is forgivable in some respects, but then it's up on the face vents as well on the sides of the doors. She's especially when you've got this really nice open pore wood on the dash. She says, why is it not that here? She said, that would look so much nicer. Or even just the grey sort of like plastic that's on the top of the dash, because it's such a good quality dashboard. Even she said, if that just wasn't the leathering that you get here, just like a grey plastic, she'd be fine with that. But she said, it just looks cheap, this piano black. And I have to agree with that. So there we go. That's my two big bugbears about it, okay? The rest of it, really easy to get on with, okay? So, just probably the right amount of physical switches in some respects. You get some nice controls on the steering wheel. I'm going to talk about the steering wheel in a second, but you get some nice controls on the steering wheel. So you get your cruise control and stuff over here, and then you got the media controls over on the right-hand side, and that will also alter the state of the digital dashboard driver's display as well, which is excellent, really very good. That's super. The face vents, they've got that nice... Can you hear that? Hang on. That's satisfying. That's a really satisfying wee click. I'll put that back. I like stuff like that. And also as well, the physical volume control for the radio that's here, this big volume control. Just, it's got a nice satisfying click to it as you turn it. I really like that. And it's the same with the engine start. You know, it's not a key or a push button. You twist this thing here, and again, it just feels nice in your hand as you twist it. Switch the car on and off. You get this lovely little stubby transmission lever, you know, for back for drive and forward for neutral and reverse. That's lovely. And a push button for park. So good physical buttons on it. You've also got fast forward and rewind, or track selection, or radio station tuning physical buttons, and heated screen, heated windscreen, like that, and hazard warnings there. However, the rest of the climate control system is in the screen. Now it's permanently on down at the bottom in terms of you can see what it is, but then you've got to press it to go into the screen to then adjust the temperature or the fan speed. It's nice and clear and easy to do it, in fairness. So when you do use it, it's fine. But it's just the fact you've got to go into a screen to use it. You know, again, maybe just a couple of this button. There's a button over here that's blank. Why would that not be a temperature button? Anyway, there you go, it's not. But it's there, okay? Right, the systems on the car, quite nice and easy to use. So, for instance, if you are driving along, let's say you're here, you've got your map up, you're using your navigation, you want to turn off your lane keep assist, you've got the little cog button down there. If you press that, you go into your driving system there, and it's in here. There's your lane keep assist there. It's because the car switched off, it's greyed out. But that's it there. And as well the speed limit as well. And that's where all your hybrid bits are as well. So it's 1-2 steps into this screen here, okay? And then pick your systems that you want. So that's okay. I'm fairly okay with that. There is also, he says, from memory, a swipe down. Now there is, there you go. There's a swipe down. So I think you can change stuff in this to have this differently as well. So that was a driving journal, don't know why. But there you go. But there is a swipe down as well. I don't know how you get out of it. Oh, there you go. And as I say, you can download various different apps from the apps. So this one's got things like Tidal, SoundCloud as well. There's YouTube, Google Maps in it, and obviously stuff like that. So yeah, it's not ideal. As I say, I don't like the fact it's wired and there's no way to put your phone and stuff like that. That annoys me. But the actual usability of it, and in fairness, even the size of it isn't too bad. The new XC60 that's coming this year has the same system, but it's got a bigger screen. So it actually stands out proud of the dashboard. Don't know if I like that or not, but I like this the way it's integrated. But as I say, it's far from perfect. Right. What is perfect is build quality. Oh, absolutely. Everything you touch is as solid as a rock. There's not a bit, bar that cheap bit of black piano black plastic in there, you cannot fault this interior. Every button feels like it clicks properly. You push it, the column stocks, oh, they are beautifully satisfyingly solid to move. And this is what I was going to talk about next, is this steering wheel. Well, actually, I'm going to talk about the driving position next, because the driving position is probably the best driving position I've ever had in a car. This driving position is fantastic. Volvo just know how to do seats, okay? I don't care what anybody else says. Volvo seats to me have always been the best, even when they were building rubbish cars like the old 340. My first wife had a 340 as her first car, 1987 340 it was, and I hated it with a passion, but I loved the seats because they were so comfortable, and these are the same. They've got an extending squab here. They've got good lateral support down the sides and down the side of your legs as well. You've got electric adjustment on driver's side. It's manual on passenger side on this model. I think the Ultra gets electric adjustment on the passenger side. But we came down last Saturday and I did M4 from Surrey all the way through, because the M3 had some problems on it, so I did all motorway. So I did 4 and a bit hours in this car on Saturday, non-stop really. And I got out feeling like I'd just driven to the shops and back. It is perfect, the driving position here. I don't care what anybody says, these seats are just bliss. The wheel, again, is just, to me, it's like the perfect steering wheel. It's absolutely round. It's got the right sort of like diameter. It's got the right thickness of rim. It's just got the right amount of controls on it. Okay, it's got a big square boss in the middle. Maybe it's not the most attractive looking wheel, but in terms of usability and the way to hold, absolutely perfect. And the steering itself, which we'll talk about when we're driving, it's just so slick and nice and oily. I love it. Absolutely love it. So to me, that's absolute perfection. So comfort, build quality, equipment level, which is quite high in fairness. You know, you've got a really good equipment level as standard on it, and I like that ease of use. But the things that annoy me is the lack of storage. This little bit of piano black, which I do feel cheapens it a little bit, but lack of storage and the lack, dare I suggest, of some technology, such as wireless Apple CarPlay, such as a wireless charging pad. Like, why have you not got a wireless charging pad on the more expensive car? Why is it on the cheap car but not on the more expensive one? I assume it's to do with where the batteries are and the electronics and stuff underneath here. But even so, there must be a way of getting around that, Volvo. Other than that, it's a brilliant interior. Oh, I didn't talk about the driver's display, sorry. The driver's display is up in here. You can configure this, see it how you see fit. So you've got speedo on the left and, oh crikey, hang on. Let's turn that down. See, that'd be nice if you just had a fan you could just turn down. So you've got up here, you've got your speedo And then over here I've got a rev counter of sorts up here. It's like a power meter, gear shift indication. I can put the map up in there as well, so if I'm using navigation I can have the map here and I can have my music there, which is how I like it. You've got really nice clear fuel gauge down there and your battery gauge there, and then your ancillaries around it. It's really easy to read at a glance. It's very legible. Again, the font that Volvo use, a bit like Polestar, the font they use is really clear and nice and easy to see at a glance, that I do like. There's no head-up display in this particular car. I must admit I didn't look to see whether or not it's on the Ultra, but I will check. But even so, it's not really needed because you've got a nice clear view there. And as I say, the driving position, the visibility on the car is fantastic. I really like this frameless interior mirror as well. That's good visibility from that. And big door mirrors with the orange lights for your blind spot indication system that Volvo have been doing for years. So yes, there's more to like than dislike about the interior, is what I'm trying very badly to say. I just don't like the fact there's nowhere to keep stuff. I don't like the fact it's not wireless charging. I don't like the fact that the wireless CarPlay and stuff needs a wire and you've got to leave your phone sitting somewhere else for that. But other than that, I really like the interior of this car. I like its simplicity, I love its build quality, and I love its comfort. So maybe from that point of view, you know, those other things I don't like, they can be pushed to the side a little bit. Brilliant. Now when it comes to the V60, you've just got petrol engines available to you, okay? So there's no diesels anymore. There are three variants of the car, if you like, in terms of its driveline. There's one which is just a mild hybrid, which is called the B4, and then there are two plug-in hybrids, the T6, which this one is, and there's also the T8, which is a more powerful car. We'll talk about the specifications of them in just a second. But I'm going to concentrate basically just on this T6 car because that's the one that we've got on test. So that's the one I can tell you mostly about. Yeah, so as I say, it's a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, which in this car here would produce 253 horsepower on its own, which is plenty for this size of car, in fairness. However, this one has an electric motor on the rear axle, okay? So as I say, you've got all-wheel drive with this car. So that puts the power output up to a combined 350 horsepower. This is not a slow car. Okay, it's absolutely fantastic. However, if you do need more, the T8 adds another 105 horsepower to that, 455 horsepower than your T8 plug-in hybrid produces. Right, 7-speed automatic transmission, standard, okay, so there's no manuals on the car, and as I say, it sends power to all four wheels, either through the engine at the front driving the front wheels, or the electric motor at the back driving the rear wheels, okay. And also it has a 14.7 kilowatt hour usable capacity battery. Now that should give, according to Volvo, 57 miles of electric only driving range on the car, okay. Now they claim something ridiculous like 353 miles to gallon combined. You're not going to get that. However, last Saturday on the run down here, as I say, it was all motorway, constant sort of like 70 miles an hour, honest officer, you know, M4, M5, and then across dual carriageway down into sort of like, you know, the foot of Cornwall. I was averaging well in excess of 50 miles to the gallon out of the car. So I think that's really, really good. And I don't think you can ask for much more than that, in fairness. There's something I really like about this car, and that's the way that the hybrid system works. It's a plug-in hybrid, this. However, there is a setting in the car, which I'll show you without driving it, where you can get the car to actually charge the battery as you're driving. So you can flick it into a certain mode, if you like. So if you're not close to a public charger, or you're not at home. I've only charged this car, I've plugged it in once since I've had it this last week. The rest of the time I've been using the engine to actually charge up the battery. And that's been really, really good, because obviously if you're on a constant sort of motorway drive, okay, it does hurt fuel economy a little bit. But as they say, you're driving down to sort of like maybe one of the local towns here or something, you want to put a bit more into the battery, you can just flick it into that mode and it'll charge up the battery. Then when you get to the town, you can put it into electric only mode. We drove through the middle of St Ives the other day, completely silently. You know, absolutely silently gliding through the streets, purely on electric power alone. So it's actually a really, really good hybrid system in this car. One of the best I think that I've tested so far. As I say, you also get the option of the T8. The T8 is the same hybrid system, but it's a more powerful. It's more powerful. You get more power from the engine, the bigger electric motor, so that gives you a lot more power. But the B4 is a mild hybrid, so in other words, you don't plug it in. And it doesn't run on electric power alone. It's purely there just to sort of, you know, as an infill, if you like, as well. You know, torque fill and that type of thing between gear shifts. But these plug-in hybrids, I think, are really excellent. I say one of the best hybrid systems I've tested. One of the surprising things about the V60, for me anyway, is how it performs out on the road. Now, I know that, as I say, there'll be people that'll say, oh, the BMW 3 Series is a sharper driver's tool, and I get that, you know, and there'll be other people that say, oh, you know, the Audi A5 Avant now is, you know, technically it's way, way better than the V60. And that's fine, and I'm happy to accept those points of view. And I've driven, you know, the A5, and it's a lovely car, it really is. But I don't think it's a patch on this. I really don't, as an all-rounder. And that's the thing. Sorry, there's a little rattle just coming from this camera mounted here, apologies. As an all-rounder, I think it's very, very hard to touch this V60, I really do. So you have, this is the T6 plug-in hybrid, which means it has a combined power output of 350 horsepower, okay? This will go from 0 to 60 in just over 5 seconds. If you want to go faster, there's the T8, which brings the power up to 455 horsepower and the 0 to 60 sprint down under 5 seconds, which is, well, really quick in my book, like really, really, really quick. But it's not just the performance, which is exceptionally good. It's the all-round package, that's what I mean. I'm going up the hill here out of Porthtown and I'm in hybrid mode, and the car obviously shuffles between you know, electric power, combustion engine, and both, depending on the scenarios. There's no manual paddle shift behind the steering wheel, and I like it. It's all the better for not having that, because what it means is the car's, it's not trying to be something that it's not. You know, there's no faux sportiness to it. There's no pretense that it could be, you know, like an M3 rival or anything like that. It's not any of that. It's just a really well sorted, well-rounded, fast, comfortable, stylish family estate car. That's all it is. That just happens to be really, really good to drive. And it's just all the better for that. It's all the better for not having that pretense about it. Everything, it just feels really well balanced. Everything feels really well judged. It's a surprising car. Now you've got McPherson struts up at the front, and there's a transverse like leaf arrangement at the rear, so it doesn't sound particularly sophisticated. But down these roads, you know, the combination of roads that I've been on this last week with the car, motorway, dual carriageway, tight Cornish roads here, really narrow single track ones with passing places, some of them quite heavily rutted, you know, with farm equipment and stuff going up and down it. It's just not been phased at all. It's not firm, it's not uncomfortable. You know, you get some cars that really, really sort of like, the suspension's really well judged on those fast flowing A roads, yet as soon as you get them down a little farm track or a little windy road where there's a lot of, you know, there's really heavily cambered and lots of ruts in it, you just, you know, you can really feel the shocks and everything coming through. You can't in this. The whole chassis is just dealing with the absorption of the road surface. I've said it before, a really well judged chassis should be like that person that keeps the office junior away from the boss. Don't disturb him, tell me about it, I'll deal with it. Don't interrupt him, he's got stuff to do. And that's what the V60 chassis feels like. There's no sudden shocks through the structure, there's no sudden jolts from the steering as it hits into like a pothole or a drain cover. It's all being dealt with way before it gets to the cabin. And it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It's fantastic. Even the engine, I have to say, this 2-litre 4-cylinder engine, when you get a hustle on, oh my God, that's quick. And it actually sounds quite nice. I mean, it's not as sonorous as an old Volvo 5 pot, you know, or a nice straight 6 BMW. Don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting that. I just mean it's actually quite nice, it's okay. You know, you don't mind the noise. Let me talk to you about the hybrid system a little bit here, because depending obviously what you choose will depend on what you want. Now at the moment I'm showing 0 miles on the battery, so if I go into the driving bit here, I can choose either hybrid, power, pure, constant, all-wheel drive. Okay, so that's the different modes. I'll come to those in a second. Then you've got battery usage, auto, hold and charge. So if I now press charge, the car will now charge the battery for me. So I get the little charging symbol up. Now, although there's nothing in the battery, it's going to charge it up as I drive. So if I was going on a long trip now, you know, if I was driving home, say, back to Surrey, I could charge the battery on the way up on the motorway where I'm just going to sit at a constant 70 miles an hour. Yes, it's going to hurt fuel economy a little bit, but it's not going to be horrific, you know, but it'll put some charge into the battery. Then if I go into the town up by me, I can just flick it into either, you know, pure mode, which is the, you know, electric only, or go into hybrid mode, and at low speed the car will flicker into EV driving, and there'll be now enough charge in the battery to give me up to about 50 miles of range. Don't have to plug it in. It's brilliant. That's fantastic. I haven't plugged this car in all the time I've been down in Cornwall. Every time I've been driving it, as I say, if I need to top the battery up, I just flick it into the charge mode and the car does it. So that's what you can do. You can also have an auto mode where, like I say, the car will sort of like decide what it needs to do, and then you can have hold. That's the interesting one. So again, if the battery was fully charged, if I had charged it at the wall box, and let's say I was driving into London, so as I'm driving, sort of like say along, say maybe the M4 or something, or the M40 down into London, and then when I get to sort of like the low emission zone, although this car goes through it fine as a hybrid, I could then ask it to hold the charge, so it doesn't use the battery at all until I get to the point where I need then to use it, and then it will run as a pure EV. So it won't move into the hybrid mode at all. It'll just drive purely as a combustion engine car, and it'll hold the battery charge until I need to use it. It's like the sort of like perfect scenario. If you fancy an EV but you're not quite ready to make the jump, sometimes these hybrids like this really are, you know, they could be the answer, they could be the best. I get it, not everyone thinks they are. You know, there's an element that says, why would you lug around a big empty battery if it runs out of charge? You know, why would you hurt the fuel economy if the car can charge it? I understand all of that, but I do think they could be a good stepping stone for a lot of people into fully electric driving. And I happen to think this is one of the best there is. Right, I've waffled enough about that. Let me go on to the other ones, so the different drive modes now. So then I've got power. So if I go into the power mode now, this enhances the steering, the suspension feedback, and it'll optimise the power to give me a much sportier drive. That's what it says there. It does, it's all right, you know, it's absolutely fine. But, you know, I don't really need to use it. Pure is pure and simply electric. As I say, that's it going into electric only driving mode. See, now I'm looking down there, already it's put 2 miles of charge into the battery, just in that little short space of time. I mean, that's brilliant, isn't it? Or there's the constant all-wheel drive. Now, constant all-wheel drive will optimise the power distribution between front and back axles to give better traction when it's needed. So that, again, is a really good mode to use. This is the thing with Volvo. They just know how to make a good all-round car as far as I'm concerned. As I say, there's none of this silly, you know, fake sportiness about it. It's stuff that you'd actually need. Low traction scenario, you're driving maybe on icy roads or a bit of snow, or, dare I suggest, down here, you know, some of the beach car parks, you're actually on the beach. That's perfect for that. Let's go back to hybrid mode. Right, the other thing when you're down in this screen as well, the other thing I've got is you can take off the lane keep assist. Now here's an interesting thing that I found the other day, and I really wasn't sure what was going on. I was ready to turn around and say there's a weird thing with the throttle, and it's just a little sort of like black mark against the car for me, it was, and I couldn't, you know, figure it out. There was almost a step in the throttle. It felt like, you know, in certain scenarios as you're pushing down the throttle, it felt like it held back, and then you went through a step and all of a sudden it would take off. I hadn't realised what the car does. So as well as a speed limit warning, you can have an adaptive pedal response. Okay, so the car knows if you're in a speed limit. If it's switched on, it knows I'm now in a 20 mile an hour speed limit. And if I try and go above 20 miles an hour, if that's switched on, the throttle pedal won't allow it. It'll just sort of like hold me back unless I really push down hard, and then it sort of like goes through that. That's what was on. As soon as I switch off, I've got a really normal pedal response and a really good pedal response. You know, there's a really nice weight behind the controls of the car. So from the pedal of the accelerator, as you push down, you get this really nice linear acceleration. You move across onto the brakes and it's the same. A really nice pedal push. There's no step, there's no deadness at the top of the pedal, there's no sponginess to it. It just feels great. It feels brilliant. And then there's the steering, okay? Then there's the steering, which I alluded to when we're talking about the interior. This steering wheel, I love this. This is almost the perfect steering wheel for this style of car, I think. Because it's the right size, it's got the right girth of rim, dare I suggest, and it's just nice to hold. Okay, it's got this big squared off boss in the middle. It's maybe not the best looking steering wheel in that sense, but goodness me, it's a lovely wheel to hold. And the steering rack itself is a joy. It's an absolute joy. I know exactly where the wheels are pointing. I know exactly what's happening underneath the car. It feels effortless at low speed. It weights up at high speed. It gives me great feedback through the corners. And I can also I can alter it on the screen here. So I can go from steering feel, which I've had, is firm. I can take that off. Oh, I've just pressed the wrong button. I can take that off and have it much lighter if I want it. So again, for parking manoeuvres, you can change it. And this is what I'm talking about. All round, as an all-round package, I can't fault it. It's brilliant on the motorway. It's brilliant on in the town. It's fast. It corners well. It's got great grip. Yes, it will push a little bit into understeer on the really tighter bends, but I'm not really fussed about that because, you know, dare I suggest, I'm not really looking for pin-sharp handling out of this car. You know, it's not really what it's about. It's not designed to compete with an M3, with an RS4, you know, with the Mercedes AMG C63. It's a plug-in hybrid family estate car with some performance. That's what the difference is. It's not trying to be something it's not. And therefore it doesn't have to try and fit that mould, if you like. It fits the mould it's designed for. A good family wagon. And I tell you now, I'm struggling to think of a better one. I really am. Yes, the BMW, as I say, has a sharper drive. Yes, the Audi has more tech in it. But none of that matters to me. Because this Volvo, I think, is about the perfect blend of what you want from a car like this. The suspension just soaks up the bumps. You don't feel any hard knocks or intrusions in through it. As I say, the steering's perfect. The throttle response is brilliant. The turning is superb. The weight transfer, as you know, as you pitch the car into a bend, is absolutely fine. There's great steering response from it. It's quick. I genuinely, I'm blown away by how good this car is. And as I say, as an all-round family estate that has performance, frugality, safety, and it's stylish to look at, to me it's the pick of the class. It really is. Right, let's discuss pricing then. So the V60 range now starts, they say there's 3 drivetrain options, 2 trim levels, sort of, in some respects. Bear with me, I'll try and explain this the best way I can. So you start with the B4, which is a 197 horsepower mild hybrid front wheel drive model. That comes in at around about £43,000 in the Plus model, but if you want the higher spec Ultra, then it's about 47 and a bit. It's about another £4,000 to go up in the specification. If you want the plug-in hybrid, however, you can either have this T6, which they say is 350 horsepower, and that's only available, however, in the Plus model, and that's £49,310, okay? If you want the T8, which is the 455 horsepower plug-in hybrid, you can only have that in the Ultra trim. So it's not only you going up in power, you're also going up in standard equipment level as well, and that's over £55,000 before options. So the B4 is the only one that's available in both the trim levels, and that's the mild hybrid. If you want a plug-in hybrid, if you want to keep under the £50,000 bracket, then you're going to need to look at this T6, but you will be sacrificing some options. But as I say, the T8 is your range topper at just over £55,000, but it's no slouch with over 455 horsepower, that's for sure. Right, competition. Well, car that I tested not that long since ago, albeit it was the diesel saloon, the new Audi A5. You can have the A5 Avant, and Audi have now introduced some plug-in hybrid models. So that's a direct competitor for this car, as is the BMW 330e Touring. That's BMW's plug-in hybrid in this market space. Mercedes-Benz also have the C-Class Estate, which you can also have with plug-in hybrid versions as well. But of course, they're premium brands, you know, so you are paying quite a price for that. And dare I suggest, maybe in some respects, you're sacrificing a little bit of space for that. So if you just want a hybrid family estate car, you've got another couple of options available to you, which is something like, dare I suggest, the Skoda Superb and the really excellent Volkswagen Passat, which obviously the Skoda Superb is the same sort of car, it's built on the same platform. So those are two cars from Volkswagen Group. They don't have the performance variants that you get sort of with the Volvo, but as I say, you certainly get more space and more practicality if that's all you're after. If, however, you are after the performance side of things and you do want a plug-in hybrid estate, then if you're quick, you might find one languishing around in dealerships. And given where I am today, it's quite prevalent that I mention this car, which is the Peugeot, the 508 PSE, the Peugeot Sport Engineered Station Wagon. Now, Peugeot have stopped building the car now, so it's only available from stock. But that's, again, a sort of like a performance estate car with a plug-in hybrid drivetrain that's a lot better than people give it credit for. At first, it would seem that the Volvo V60, when judged against its contemporaries, is way out of its depth. Perhaps it was the right decision for Volvo, when you first think about it, to pension the car off, you know, and just concentrate on SUVs. Because, you know, it's not the sort of the tech fest that you get with, say, maybe the Audi A5, and it's maybe not a sharper driver's tool as the BMW 3 Series Touring, and it's maybe not as prestigious in some ways as the Mercedes-Benz C-Class Estate. But let me state this here and now. I would have the Volvo V60 over any of those three cars. In fact, I would have the Volvo V60 over the Skoda, over the Peugeot 508 PSE, over the Volkswagen Passat. As an all-round family car, I don't think there's very much can touch this Volvo V60. It's comfortable, it's fast, it's stylish, it's frugal, it's safe, and it's practical. And in some respects, what more do you want from a family estate car? It's an odd car, this, because it's not until you actually live with it that you start to understand what makes this car as good as it is. No, as I say, it's not the sharp driver's tool the BMW 3 Series Touring is. And as I say, you maybe lack some of the prestige that the Mercedes-Benz badge carries. And yes, it's not as modern as the new Audi A5, but none of that matters to me. As an all-round family car to come with my family and do a long distance in, as far as I'm concerned, the Volvo V60 is the best of them. The fact that Volvo took this car off market but then decided to bring it back a few years later is the best decision I think the company have made, because to not experience the Volvo V60 is, in my mind, to miss out on one of the best family cars that you can buy at any price today. It really is that good. Thank God they saw sense and brought it back. Thank you for watching another road test review on House of Cars. I hope you've enjoyed it. As I say, if you're not already a subscriber, would you please consider becoming them? And when you do that, press the little bell button down below, because that's the way you'll be notified when the next video is uploaded and it's gone live. If you have enjoyed this week's review, then please give it a little thumbs up, and don't forget, leave me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about the Volvo V60. Would you have this over an Audi A5 Avant, or a BMW 3 Series Touring, or a Mercedes-Benz C-Class? Have you? Have you got one of the old ones? Are you pleased Volvo have brought it back? Or did you migrate across to an SUV from a Volvo estate car? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now, I am on Instagram if you're interested in that, and I do promise, I keep promising that I am going to try and do a little bit more this year, but it's at House of Cars 1973 if you're a fan of the gram. And remember, whether or not it is a new car or an old car, a small car or a large car, a slow car or a fast car, you'll find them all here in the House of Cars. Thank you once again for watching. Thank you once again for supporting the channel. I'll see you again soon.